Man, it's good to talk to you though, Drew. I know that we get a chance to text and talk away from this, buddy, but I appreciate you taking the time, man. And you know this, but I think super highly of you, and always have. You've obviously been really successful, and in the baseball world and on the pitching side. I guess as we kind of launch into this, I know a lot about you, but I'd love you to kind of share a little bit more about your background, kind of your playing experience, your coaching experience. It's been a great ride, man. You've been at some pretty great places.
It has. It has. It's amazing how fast it goes. Like I talk about my playing career, both in college and pro ball, literally like it was yesterday. And, I was in college 25 years ago, right? Like,
Crazy, man.
I played collegiately at the University of Illinois from 98 to '02. Went there as a two-way, and ended up pitching in just 9 innings. Heck, I was redshirted to start the first third of the season my freshman year, and then came off redshirt and started pitching and had a little bit of success, and then went to the good old Northwoods League and just
Yeah.
kind of came into my own, man. I mean, that league, if you know anything about that league, it's like minor league baseball, right? You're playing 6-7 days a
Yeah.
week. You're riding on buses. But I was pitching every fifth day, right? And I just got a lot better and came back, and it was like no more outfield, first base. You're pitching only, and
Yeah.
which ended up being a good decision. And I had a what really good college career at Illinois, and that afforded me opportunity to get drafted by the Oakland A's in 2002, the Moneyball draft class. So was with the A's from '02 through '06. Got released in 2006 with them, and then I played 2 years of independent ball in '07, '08. Was signed to play independent ball in 2009, and this is where my life changes. I'm going back to school. I have a semester left, right? When I played, it literally took you 4.5 years to graduate, right? Sometimes 5. So I had a semester left, and I'm going to go back in the spring semester, finish my degree, and then go play for the Gary Railcats, which at the time was in Northern League, right outside
Oh,
of Chicago.
yeah.
Um, and it's a 100-game season, so I'll take my finals, and I'll join like halfway through what we call their spring training, right? But like I had played there in '08, I had a great time. We lost the championship series at Kansas City, and I wanted to keep playing, but I just wanted to get my degree and have that. So whenever baseball is done, my next part of my life is what was ready to happen. And um, I'm going back to school. Dan Hartlip, who's still the head coach, who was my pitching coach when I played there, but now the head coach at Illinois, calls me. He's like, "Hey, I just talked to Sherry Clapp, our academic advisor. Says you're coming back to finish your degree. That's great. Would love for you to be the volunteer assistant. How would you feel about that?" I go, "I would love." This is exactly what I said. I would love to help out. Because when I played, the volunteer assistant was just he helped out in practice, and when the team traveled, he stayed back and coached and helped run the practice for the 8 to 10 players that didn't travel. Right. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll be working out with you guys anyway. Like to get ready for my season." He's like, "Oh no, you'll coach the outfielders, you coach first base, and you'll travel." I was like, "Oh, all right, this might be fun." Justin, it was. First of all, the practice was like I've always been somebody. I don't hate to say this, like cocky, but I've always been somebody like the game came really easy to, right? Like I felt like I always was 2 innings ahead of the game, what was happening. I felt like I could see stuff before it was happening, and when it did happen, I could articulate what was happening immediately, right, to my teammates or to myself. So when it came to coaching, the players became really like latched on to me about the game of baseball and winning, because obviously they knew I was close enough. They still knew what kind of player I was out of pro ball, and then obviously at Illinois, I won a lot of games. It was like 30-7 in 3 years. So like, I had a lot of respect from that standpoint, and it was Illinois baseball. It's what I grew up in as a college player, and still had this passion for. And man, we went on our first trip, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I do not want to leave these players early, because if after finals, that's the best time of the year. You got 2 weeks of
Yeah.
conference play left, and the conference tournament, then you hope regionals, right? I was like, that's the best part of the year. And I just got back Monday morning. I call our general manager up in Gary. I go, "Hey, I'm retiring because I'm not leaving these kids early." And I was just a lowly volunteer, right? But I knew like this is what I was meant to do in this game of baseball, and
Interesting.
continue, because I feel like I wanted to stay in it. And then that's what I did. And then 2010, I coached professional baseball for a year. Went back to be the volunteer in Illinois in 2011, and then we won the Big Ten regular season, Big Ten tournament to get a regional bid. Lost the regional final to Stanford out in Cal State Fullerton. We get back the next morning. We have camp. I arrive at camp, and Dan Hartlev was there waiting in the parking lot, hands me the NCAA recruiting manual and goes, "Hey, I just fired our pitching coach this morning. You need to go take the test." I'm like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And then I got hired 6 weeks
Wow.
later. 6 weeks later, I became the pitching coach at Illinois and had 8 great years there. And then obviously I left Illinois for the next chapter. I went to the University of Virginia and was there for 6 seasons. Unfortunately, we only had 5 of them because of COVID was the first year, but went to the College World Series 3 times in 5 years. And then my head coach who was there for 22 years left to go to Mississippi State. The pitching coach who was at Mississippi State already and was the interim head coach, and when the coach got fired, he stayed. So I was left needing a job, and now here I am at the University of Missouri for my first year. So still in this game. It's crazy that I've been coaching for this is year 15 as a pitching coach, and
Wow,
it feels
crazy,
like year
man.
2. So
Wow, it's interesting. I didn't know that was your start at Illinois, man. That's an interesting caveat of not really, I guess, going there or with a role that was open. It was more of like that kind of worked out for you. That's interesting, man.
yeah, it's funny how life works out for that,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah,
just, I enjoyed the kids, and I felt like I helped them be better, and they gravitated towards me, and it was great. I love the connection, and I was like, wow, could you imagine do this for a living and
yeah,
and be good at it? And and thankfully, I mean, Dan took that leap of faith. I mean, after winning all those things in 2011, takes a leap of faith and fires the pitching coach that he had, and then 6 weeks later, I ended up getting the job. Um, like that's not an easy thing for him to do, and he
yeah.
did it. And obviously, I assume he saw something in me, right? That he felt like this would be a benefit to have me, and
Yeah.
somebody who pitched there and stuff. And I hopefully I feel like he felt like it was a great move in the 8 years that we spent together.
Well, clearly it was, man. You guys won a lot of ball games, and just always a team. I don't mean this as any disrespect to Dan, what they've done there. Adam is a really close friend of mine, the recruiting
Yep.
guy. He was actually just on, the podcast a few weeks ago. But I think it's one of the best underrated programs in the country. I think it's a program that wins all the time. I mean, it's a very stable program, and as you know, in this through like stability is hard, man.
Yeah.
Like to do it year in and year out for years and years is a really hard thing to do. And Dan deserves a lot of credit because he always puts together good teams, puts together good coaching staffs, as even with
Yep.
the bringing Spence in and like guys like that. Like he's always attracting the right guys, and like clearly, he hit on you, and I just feel like he's done a good job of surrounding himself with really good people too, man. But so now you're at Mizzou, though. Obviously, SEC is a different sort of animal than
Yeah.
altogether. Tell me about that, man, because this is kind of an off topic here a little bit, but tell me about your experience. You've been at Power Forward now, right? So
Yeah.
Illinois,
Yeah.
Virginia, and then now Mizzou. Those are 3 great conferences, 3 very different conferences. What are some of the things that you've noticed? We've talked about this off the podcast, but I'd love you
Yeah.
to share kind of the differences that you've seen in this.
Well, yeah, obviously, I'm looking forward to we have a weekend series versus UIC this weekend. And then next week we have a midweek, and then we open up at versus Auburn at home. So we open up that gauntlet of 10 straight weeks of SEC play, right? Where every team you play is literally a top 25 team, right? Or
Yeah.
has the caliber to be that.
Yeah.
So I was at Illinois, like obviously I always had that chip on my shoulder at Illinois because like I wanted us to be respected more than we were,
Yeah.
right? Not only as us as Illinois, but like the conference of the
Yeah.
Big Ten, right? And it's a mid-major when it comes to baseball. Let's just be honest, right? I think it's getting close to being out of that with the addition of of Oregon and USC and I think UCLA is the #1 team in the country, right? And Washington. I think you're going to see other schools that are going to continue to maybe invest in baseball a little bit more because
Yeah.
college baseball every single year is like it just grows. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
on social media, you just see the amount of people at these games, and amount of people who are interested in what's going on. The amount of these games are on streaming or on live TV. It gets bigger every year, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly think our season's going to moving back here in the next few years, where it's going to be like we're the main thing going on, right? Basketball does this thing, and then we have our thing, and then the summertime and stuff like that. But you know what, going from the Big Ten, where, there's great players. The difference between the Big Ten and then I go to Virginia was simple for me, was the depth of the teams, right? From a pitching standpoint, like, yeah, in the Big Ten, you might have a couple good arms, but you could have a team where it has like 10 good arms, right? At Virginia, that 1 and 10 are so close that like you just have that many guys you can run out there nonstop. And then the conference was just deeper as well from a talent standpoint as well. Not everybody's isn't easy, but like in the ACC, even the teams that you thought maybe weren't the best, and maybe a Pitt was having a bad year, or Boston College or somebody, like if you didn't play good baseball, you were going to lose that series, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the same way in this level in the SEC as well. But the conference is just another step deeper, right? I was at that league, the ACC, for 6 years, and it was, SEC, ACC, like it was SEC, right? Let's just be honest. But in 2024, we're in Omaha, and we have 4 ACC teams and we have 4 SEC teams, right? Like,
Yep.
it was pretty even, and it was good. And like we haven't won the national championship, in that league in a while, but the competition's good and whatnot. But when you look at the ballparks and the resources, the amount of money they put into SEC schools, nobody compares to it, right? And that's what good programs need. It's tough to have a good sustained program without resources. As much as you would love to say, oh, I don't need X, Y, and Z, give me this and I'll win. Still, it's hard. It really is,
Yeah.
right? You got to get play, and especially now where you have to pay players, and with coaches now, paying good coaches to keep them, and your ballpark, and keep up to date with the Joneses, with video boards and all the stuff that has nothing to do with players being better at what they do, but like it's the appearance of, we look like we know what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I used to say it all the time, like a chairback has never made a player better, right? But when you walk in, that's when you're a 16-year-old kid in a recruiting trip, that's what you notice, right? Like the ambiance and the atmosphere that you're going to play in, and the type of crowds you're going to play in, not only at home, but then when you go on the road and then you play at the LSUs of the world and Mississippi States of the world, these cathedrals that have been being built, Arkansas, like that's fun. That's exciting. Not only as a player, but us coaches think about that as well too. So, being here in Missouri, I'm excited, right? I'm coming to a place that has struggled the last couple of years. And for me, the challenge of helping them win, especially on the pitching side, but just in general too, is like, I feel like I know what it takes to win at this level. And I feel like I can help everybody involved in the organization because I've done it. And I was fortunate to work for a great guy in Brian O'Connor and learned a lot from Dan. And as a young coach and a guy, you try to take things from different guys you work for and help make yourself better, then help the program that you're with be better. So I'm excited. We're 10-2 so far, which is a good start. And I'm really excited to get this SEC journey going because I love a good grind, man. I love it, man. Like, give me the best competition where the margins are razor thin. Because in all the small things that baseball's about, you do them right, you win baseball games. So
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And it kind of leads us into this conversation, right? With just pitching in general, right? So a lot of the myths around it, and you're a great person to speak on this, because if you've been successful at multiple places, you can't just say, "Wow, of course he's in the SEC and he can kind of recruit whatever he wants or whatever," right? Like, no, you've done it at different places that require different things, different recruiting styles, like certain players that you're going after. But the one thing hasn't changed, I would say, in this is that there are still certain things that pitchers have to do to be successful. I don't think anybody argues these things. I'd love your take though, because, and we're gonna go down this road, Drew. And
we're
you
in a
and I
rabbit
were
hole.
yeah, here we go, man. I don't know if everybody's got a few hours here, but we'll give it a shot. Let's start talking about that though. For you, what are the key elements in your eyes to being a successful pitcher? Let's just say at the college and pro level.
Right. Well, this is really easy. The 2 biggest indicators of success at the college, minor league, and major league level from pitching standpoint are these 2 categories: first pitch strikes and overall strike percentage. Those 2 things alone are the 2 biggest indicators of success currently in today's game. And probably if you look back every single year, it doesn't change, right? How the game is played hasn't changed. What we do in the game has changed because the level of stuff's been elevated. Notice in those 2 things, I didn't say 95 plus or this much movement, whatever. It was simply those 2 things. Now, common sense would know if I'm in in the SEC or minor league baseball, I'm throwing 80-mile-an-hour fastballs in the strike zone. It's not going to work out well,
Yep.
right? But you still have to do those two things, right? Where our problem is right now is that I don't want to say a problem. Where you used to you have your guys that are like, they're just naturally going to be better because they're just gifted, right? God said, here you go, man. You're going to be a guy. You're going to throw hard because that's what God has given you. And now we've learned ways through technology and lifting and arm care and all these other things that encapsulate what being a pitcher is about. We know so much now, and we can help these kids at a young age develop faster. Doesn't mean they understand how to play the game or do the things that need to win, but from a sheer like stuff or velocity standpoint, they can get up close to where it needs to be. And that's where the waters get muddied, right? Because now you, as a coach or as a recruiter, I have to try to differentiate which one of these guys can be able to do the things that actually lead to winning baseball games, right? That actually, for like you like keep your job, right? Like they don't pay us in college baseball. 20 years ago they did. They wouldn't care if you won or lost half the time. If you had you graduated your players, they're good on the field, you're competitive enough, and they were, they all those good things, you were fine. Now, I mean, you look across now the amount of schools that are willing to make changes at the baseball program because they think they could be better, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what's tough. Like college baseball, it should be for about development, and it still is, but not in the way that minor league baseball is, because there is a true care factor of winning or losing, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you have to
I
talk
agree.
about the things. Do you do the things? Do you do the things that are negligible to win the game? Which is simple as, hey, like we have a chart called Pound the Zone chart. It keeps track of first pitch strikes and overall strike percentage. And I have everybody has a sub tab that keep all their outings broken down. But on this main leaderboard page, all it has is that. And if you're in red, yellow, or green being great, yellow is good job, but red's bad. Like you know right now where you stack up versus your teammates.
Yeah.
And it's not a mistake why the guys who are in green and yellow are the guys having good years so far, right?
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with their stuff, because you look across college baseball now, you see guys throwing 95 to 98 who have 10 ERAs, and they only time they ever throw is when that team is up or down 10, right? And well, this
True,
is
man.
sad because
It's
unfortunately
true.
that kid is never going to get a chance to develop because he has to pitch live innings to
Yeah.
get better, right?
Yeah.
And summer ball might do it, but summer ball, it's not going to do it for him like as it was as the competition is in college baseball at the Division I level. So, you have these kids that are just leaning into like, I need to throw hard because professional baseball is what's needed. Yes, it is, but not at the fact of if you can't do the things that need to win. Because we were just at Minnesota Twins big league camp, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and they're talking about all that matters. Do you get outs or not? Right now, as you place major league hitters, it does help to have stuff to get these
Yeah.
people out because they're the best
Clearly.
hitters in the
Yep.
world. Right.
Yep.
But it still comes down to the basic things of, oh, great stuff. But if you can't get people out or do the things necessary to get people out, like throw strikes, it doesn't matter. And your career is going to be so short lived anyway. Does it really matter? Because I know for me as a player, if I was living in this world now, I wouldn't want to just do this so I can have a 6-month tour in professional baseball. I want to be doing the things that are going to help me have some longevity and give me a true shot to be
Yeah.
a big leaguer, right?
Yeah.
And you see these kids now, like if you look across Major League Baseball, the best pitchers that are out there, they come from schools that aren't like SEC schools. Like
Yeah.
they're from Seattle U, Tarek Skubal, and Stetson had like how many Cy Young, like Kluber and DeGrom and all those guys from Stetson, because they grew up throwing strikes at like upper 80s righties. But they weren't good enough for the SEC or the ACC because they weren't throwing hard enough, but they threw strikes and knew how to pitch. And then they grew up like all kids should grow up between 18 and 22 years old. And then they became velocity, but they already knew how to pitch already and then became studs, right?
Yes.
Like I would
Yes.
always say, if you can learn how to pitch first and then let the velocity come, don't chase that early. Chase that. If you're going to chase it later when you're like 18, 19. But then velocity comes, you don't know how to throw strikes and spin a breaking ball. Like you will have an insane career and have a legit shot of being a long big leaguer, So
I like it, man. I mean, and you didn't even bring him up, but Paul Skeen started at Air Force, right?
no,
Like,
that
there's another example, right?
recruited him in
So,
Virginia out of the portal. Like, I mean, we were trying to get him like, hey, how can we help you? And you're getting out of Air Force, and you're going to go to here, and you have these resources, and you're not going to be in the military anymore. And I mean, I had a guy Connolly early that would have been that same class, Connolly was a Patriot League Pitcher of the Year at Army, but he was throwing 84 to 86, touching 87, but knew how to pitch. He was in the Army. They didn't work out baseball wise. They were up at 5:30 in the morning in the fields doing drills.
Yep.
And he if you don't know military stuff, people who are listening, like if you go past your second year, you're in for like 2 more years for 7. Basically, it's called 2 for 7, right? So he had to make a choice. He comes to Virginia. He commits. 6 weeks later, he's back on campus. He's 20 pounds heavier already from being able to work out, eat, and sleep. He leaves. He went from 84 to 87, 89, 93. That kid was a rookie last year, pitching Game 3 of the wild card series versus the Yankees on his 4th major league start. Right, like that. He was in college 2 years ago. Right, like, but he knew how to pitch before he knew how to throw hard, and he'll be a big leaguer for 10 plus years because of it.
It's so good, man. I love the information too, and it's such an interesting sort of time that we're in too, Drew, where social media has changed a lot of this, right? With what guys are chasing and why they're chasing it, which I think the arms race in Major League Baseball is super interesting, but it's also an arms race in college baseball. And this is what I've said for a long time. We've talked about this away from the podcast, and I want to get to the myths here in a second, but like, head coaches, pitching coaches, recruiting coordinators can miss on stuff. And I've said this for a long time. If they go after a guy that's like 86, 88 with like good command, 3 good pitches, and they miss on that guy, it's a harder pill for other people around them to swallow. And I see it in my world where they would rather go with the stuff guy that's less of a pitcher, because everyone will sit back and say, I can see why we made that offer. I can see it with the stuff. So I think it's almost like this environment that's conducive for these decisions, because the risk doesn't come with the stuff, even though it does on the field. In recruiting and for jobs, it doesn't. What does come with the risk is the guy that's like 80, like I said, 86, 88, 87 to 90, but it's like, man, just a winner. Like, he competes. Like, you want to talk a little bit about that? Just in college baseball specifically, how that's become a major part of what's holding some of these guys back that can really pitch.
For sure. And there's a reason, because like you said, there's perception of things, right? Like, there's so many recruiting rankings and stuff like that. And you're like, well, wow, this guy's only recruiting guys are this. Like, he must not be a good recruiter, right? Like, yeah, but let me give me 4 years and I'll show you I was right. But I don't have 4 years sometimes, right?
Right.
And the thing about the 87, 86, 88, the high school kid, like, I like those guys. If I look at them and go, okay, there's still like room to grow. There's projectability, right? Like, there's some caveats to it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you know that when they're 20 years old, he's going to surpass that other guy, because the other guy will be just plateaued and he'll just keep on by, and it's a long play, right? And that's what I did at Illinois. Like, you got it rolling with a good recruiting class, and then you just kept going behind it, right? And they just keep filing in, because you do that, they're doing the right things, and you kind of find your niche a little bit of who to go after. But yeah, it's a slippery slope with the velo stuff. But I also get it. Like, I sit here, I understand all of it, because like, that's all you see it is pumped and stuffed down your throat, right? Like. Trust me, Justin, I love dudes who throw hard, right? But I have plenty of guys right now. Man. We played 12 games, and I have guys who throw 95 plus that have thrown 2 innings combined, right? Like, because they walk and hit people, and they don't do the things necessary to win baseball games. And I don't trust them. It's that simple. I don't trust them. And you got to do things for me to put you in the ball game that I trust that you can give, because I'm not thinking about just you. I'm thinking about the entire 30 other 5 guys in the dugout that want to win, right? In minor league baseball, you don't think about that. They don't care if they win or lose, because it's about developing guys how to win for the major league level, right? As you know much about, right? So
I love that, man. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, the evaluation side from a pro standpoint versus the college standpoint it can be very different. Pro is always grabbing for stuff, right? And it's like, hope we can shake this out. And like you said, if you're losing at the AA level, it's not a huge deal if the guys are developing and they're helping your big league club. That's not the point of it, is to win, I guess, all the games that you can. Obviously, everybody's trying to win those games, but that's not the point of it necessarily. You're just trying to get really, really talented players and build them up. So I want to kind of get to the myth side of it. Let's talk about your, like, what you would see as like one of your top myths in this entire process for a pitcher? Like, let's say youth or high school. Let's just dive into that, man. Like, there's a lot of them, but just grab at some things that you think are just kids have been told, but they're just not true.
Like, I mean, the old, like, if you're not like 90 plus, you can't get outs at the college level. I would say then you're not watching college baseball, right? Like, did you notice when in 2024 when Tennessee won the national championship in Omaha, who was pitching all the innings? It was about 4 lefties throwing 86 and 90, right? Why? Because they threw strikes, and in that ballpark, it ain't about the home run, right? It's harder hitting home runs in Omaha if you've been there. It's not like, every SEC park's a Cracker Jack park, right? Like, it's like tiny. So there's home runs all over this league. But you get there, you better throw strikes because it's gonna be a tighter game. They do the same. So, like, it's small things. And I mean, you saw guys that throwing. I saw the A&M at Cortez throwing 100. He was 10 pitches, you're out because you ain't doing it. And bring it lefty throwing 88, and he gets all the outs, right? Like, there's something you're gonna get out. Those other guys have stuff that got him there in certain times, but like when it came down to the most crucial time, you went with guys that you knew at least gave you a shot to win the game, all right? And I like math, right? I like poker, I like stuff like that. Like, I think it's a game of, it's not really gambling, it's a math game, right? And pitching's a lot like it. And when you walk people, it's 100% undefensible. They're going to first base. Yeah. I can lob the ball over the plate, and the ball has a high probability of getting caught because in college baseball they can play good defense, right? Yeah. Now, mind you, I don't have a guy soft tossing it over the plate, right? But like, it's the idea of when in doubt, like, throw strikes and let the 8 guys behind you help you out, right? Because then what happens in the way the game's played, you walk somebody, then you hit somebody, and then you find the strike zone, and a guy pumps one, and it's a 3-run homer. Right now you're on 3-0. Like, I'd rather have a solo home run that does nothing, right? Like, that's managing a baseball game, right? It's still, can I get to 27 outs before you do and score more runs than you do, right? So do you do the things on the mound that do that? And saying that you need all sheer velocity to win is, yes, to a degree, but that velocity only if you're able to throw in the box, right? Like, because guys anymore, like Justin, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, yeah, you're throwing hard. You could be scattered, and because guys are going to swing and chase. They don't chase at all anymore because all they do anymore is, since they're 17, 16 years old, they're hitting 95 plus on machines and cages. So it just becomes what they do now. It's just part of the game. Right. So what's going to happen is the guys who start to, just be carry. Now it's the guys who sink it, cut it. Those guys are come rolling back around, and they're going to eat people's lunches. Right. And they're going to be and dicing up. But now if you can learn to do that, and then through time and age, gain velocity when you really should, let's be honest, you should be gaining velocity at 19, 20, 21 years old, not 15 and 16. Right. Like, there's some things you shouldn't be doing at 16, but I also understand it. Why? Because you are a competitive kid. And you want to play at the highest level. And at the highest level, this is what they're going after because they're showing you time and time this is what they want. And I would tell a kid, stay patient, and go do what you do wherever that may be. And what's supposed to come to you, I promise will come to you, right? But kids have a tough time of saying, oh, I'm going to go this avenue and not have to go like, oh, I should be SEC, and that doesn't work that way. And I tell guys all the time, especially at camps and high school kids, go look at the major league draft. I mean, it's about to go to 10 rounds, might be 5 rounds, right? But it's 20 rounds right now. And half those kids will be from schools that you have never ever heard of. D2s, D3s, NIAAs. You will never, JUCOs. It's all walks of life. There's so many different avenues to where you go. Go where you're wanted, you're appreciated, and then your ability to play and pitch. Because I will die on this hill. The only way to get better at baseball is by actually playing baseball, right? Like by actually pitching, right? Don't be the 14th guy on the pitching staff. Not going to bode well for you,
Yeah, that's a great hill to die. I mean, it's tough to debate that, man. Okay, so let's take a look at like the velocity thing and kind of like move from that. So you have the youth and then high school baseball level. If you're just looking at breaking into those two right now, obviously when you get 16, 17, 18, kind of the mind shifts, and I get it because they hear it all the time for feedback. Hey, if you get to this velocity, we'll be really interested. We like everything else, but this velocity. But clearly, like you said earlier, you're not going to be able to throw 80 and go throw in the SEC. Like that's
Right.
not how it works either. So let's balance this all out, this stuff all out. What should pitchers focus on, Drew? Like let's break it into like youth and then break it into high school. What are your thoughts on how they should go about their business practice wise, development wise, and then in games for both youth and high school?
What when you say youth, you talking like 13 and under,
Yeah,
12 and
yeah,
under?
yeah.
I
14
mean,
and
when
under.
you think youth kids, you think play the game, play other sports, do all those
Yeah.
things. Like there's a reason, and I tell this every time. There's a reason every year in Major League Baseball, if you take opening day rosters and take American-born players, over 60% of them will be from above the Mason-Dixon line, from the north, right? Well, why is that? They don't play baseball year-round when they were 15, 16, 17 years old. They went and played basketball. They took a break. They put the glove away, right? And
Yeah.
they let their bodies heal up and continue to grow when they were at those delicate ages when your ligaments are making huge strides, right?
Yep.
So at a youth age, I say play the game, play different positions, right? Like make sure you're not running a kid out there. Obviously they try to put all these smart, pitch safe and all these things into play, which I think are great as long as they're being followed, right? Of taking care of a kid. But when he gets to start that 14, 15, 16 age, like you talk about velocity, well, anymore, everybody's throwing hard. Now it's a dime a dozen now. So how are you going to separate yourself from everybody else? Pitch. I feel for the game. I can spin a breaking ball, right? Maybe a changeup. I mean, not many kids have great changeups in high school because if they're good, the changeup is hitting speed for all the guys that they're facing in a high school lineup, right? But here's a big one. Do you know what all freshman players can't do when they get to college campuses? They can't hold runners. They can't fill their positions. If you're 1-4 or worse to the plate, somebody gets on base, they're on second base in the next pitch, and then possibly third, right? And that's a run. And guess who can't pitch you then? I can't pitch you if you give up one single that the guy's on second base or third base,
Right.
right? Like it's amazing. That's the biggest learn right now. The biggest learn as a college coach if you recruit well, you recruit good arms and stuff like that, and hopefully some field, but like you have to then teach them the game of baseball, right? If we can get that shored up a little bit earlier, that kid will be so far ahead of the game as a freshman and give himself more opportunities to pitch as a freshman. It is hard to play as a freshman at the highest level of college baseball. It's easier as a pitcher because you need a lot of them. If you're a starting shortstop as a junior, well, he's a starting shortstop and you're just going to be sitting if you're a shortstop, right?
Yeah.
But as a pitcher, you need a lot of guys. So you can find yourself getting more opportunities as a young guy. But the more you show, like, I can control the baseball game, because you're not going to strike everybody out like you did in high school. Ball's put in play at a way higher rate, right? So guys get on base more than you did in high school because just the talent level is tougher. The competition is tougher. So can you manage the baseball game that's going on around you? And that's my biggest thing that I do is teach kids how to manage the game. Yes, I'm calling the game for them and stuff, but like it's my calling to teach them how to do this, because hopefully they get a chance to play minor league baseball that to then manage the game themselves, right? The kids that are all like these right-handers are all 1.6, 1.65. The slowest guy on the team that you're playing will steal second base without a throw when you're 1.6 plus to the dish, right?
Yeah.
And imagine you've thrown your whole life moving at a certain pace, and now you have to cut off 0.3 of a second. It's hard because you've never done that in your entire life, and then you go backwards, right?
Yeah.
And you hope you have enough aptitude to then to move it back up the chain. It's so the earlier the kids, pitchers can do that and value those things, it'll be a big deal, right? And they'll have a chance to pitch and play at the highest level, because it's so hard to just go outstuff somebody in this level of college baseball.
Oh man, I love that stuff. One of the things that I'm really big on, you hit on a couple of things here. If at the youth level, so let's just say 14, 13 and under, you've played a lot of positions, let's just even say infield, what are you going to do? Field your position better if you're a pitcher, right? That's why, like, for me, one of the things I was always drawn to in the arms is just, hey, here's a shortstop. Well, clearly they're athletic and there's some of that stuff, but it's also because they're going to field the position really well, typically, right? They're going to hop off the mound. They're going to be athletic. That stuff doesn't phase them. Twisting around for double play is easy for them. But also you hit on it where even if they don't have a great move, how many times have you seen that kid learn how to do it because of the athleticism, where it's like, okay, we've trimmed this off because this guy is just, the aptitude here is so good because it's so athletic. Can you talk a little bit about that mixture?
Guys who are athletic are adjustable and adaptable. Simple as
Yeah.
that. Like you look
Yeah.
at a kid, oh, he's athletic. Okay, that means he can make changes probably faster than the kid who's not as athletic, right?
Yep.
And when you think about changes that need to be made, hopefully they're not big changes because if you, I mean, I don't want to recruit projects, right? Unless I'm at a place
Yeah.
where you have to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never
Yeah.
had to really do that. I should say thankfully, but you want to recruit guys for athletics because there's going to be changes to be made because the
Yeah.
game is going to change to be faster and harder for them. And they need to adjust to be able to compete at that level. And the
Yep.
more athletic guys are, the better they're going to be. I mean, the guys who can play, like you said, the shortstop, he also usually shortstops are pretty heady. They understand the game of
Yeah.
baseball. Being a
Yep.
pitcher, you should understand the game of baseball because that's going to help you manage that game because you are the guy who controls the game with the ball in your hand, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, playing more positions and being athletic is huge. Don't the specialization is hard, man. Like, don't get so quick into that. Like,
I'm
I'm
with you.
if I have a son who's 4, so I don't have to do the for a while. But like specialization stuff, like that have to be like a 17-year-old type of thing. Like, okay, we got enough couple years here that we can tell where this is going, and if not, we're gonna stick with it and let the college game tell us where it's going, right? Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recruit 2 ways all the time, and the parents are like, well, what do you see him as? I go, you know what? The game is going to tell us. We're
Yeah.
going to put him in the fall. He's going to get at bats. He's going to play the outfield. He's going to pitch. And what happens every year with that, the kid comes and goes, yeah, I don't want to hit no more. And it ain't never not pitch. It's always not hit anymore because hitting's hard. And they like the pitcher's life in college, right? And like, I like to be this side of the ball. And then they take off. You know, I had a first round pick named Cody Sedlock was that way, hitting in the fall. And he was like, at Illinois, he's like, yeah, I'm good. And always don't tell them you don't have to worry about it. The players will always come and tell you, I'm good. There's never a problem like, well, we're going to have to tell this guy he can't pitch no more. You won't, or hit. You never have to. They will come tell you quickly in college because it's
Right.
like it is really hard. You have to be a special athlete to
Yeah.
do both. And when I say do both, not do both average. You want to be great at both things. That's like, I mean, Paul Skeens had like 19 dingers at Air Force and didn't get in a bat at Air Force at LSU, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's videos at LSU hitting homers when he was Air Force as a visiting team. That man can hit and probably could have hit 20 for LSU, but like, no,
Yeah.
there's greatness on the level right here. And we're good with other players, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We're
But
doing all right.
that shouldn't be at 16, 17,
Yeah.
Justin. That's got to be more like a 19, 20-year-old thing because you don't really truly know what you're going to turn into until you get those young 20s, I would think, right?
No, I love that stuff, man. I think it's super important. I think it's really important to balance out, what you're doing it for too. And this is something we talk about a lot. And I want you to touch on this. I think playing multiple positions, playing multiple sports. I talked to Tracy Smith about this on the podcast about a month ago, a little bit over that, but about the multi-sport versus specialization. But it's the competitive nature of a human, right? And putting them in different environments to compete in different things. I want to talk to you a little about that. I want you to talk about the compete factor. And you and I used to talk about this, man, when I was working for the Brewers, right? Like,
Yeah.
like what were, like, if you could, we don't want to go into it and give all the details, but like, what were the things I was asking you, man? Like, most of it was like, okay, I want to hear what you think of the stuff and all that. And then it's like an hour on something completely away from that. That's what my work was like, and I'm a big compete guy, aptitude guy, right? Like all that stuff. Tell me about that, man. I think that just gets totally missed with a lot of players and how they're able to just take the mound, command a game, have the presence, and just go compete and win games. Please share your thoughts on this.
The guys who play at the highest level, and we'll call the highest level being Major League Baseball, they're not only gifted, they are gifted, but there's a lot of guys just as gifted at the AA and AAA level, right? There is. It's pretty like it's razor thin margins, right? But those guys have something inside of them that is just, you're not going to beat me. I'm going to find a way, whatever it may be, to outcompete you, outwill you, whatever you want to say, right? In college, I felt like I've always been just like the most. I'm the most competitive person. I don't care if it's darts, if it's pool. I want to beat your ass and all of it, right? Like I don't care. And I was a soft tossing lefty who just would not be denied winning a baseball game, right? Like, but now you have to try to teach that, and that's a tough teach. I don't think you can teach it. I really don't. I think it's either inside you or
Yeah,
you're not, that
I
you
do
want to
too.
learn how to compete. Well, how do you do that? Get put in different environments of being in a point guard, or being a shooting guard, or being football, whatever it may be, that might test you mentally. And I love golf. I loved high school golf. I was a big golfer in high school. Still am a golfer now. I love that the way it tests you mentally to stay in this grind over this 4 hour round, right? Like pitching is, I tell our pitchers, especially starters, when your game is over, you should be more mentally exhausted than you are physically exhausted, because of the amount of thought process that you're trying to get this guy up, because it's a game, right? The game within the game, and like you're just gonna outwill yourself and make this. It isn't like I just go, I'm a robot, and I just that's there's rarely guys who can do that, right?
Right.
Um, but the compete factor is, but how do you find that out, right? Like you watch high school kids play. Well, if they're good, they're usually winning all the games that they play. They don't have bad games, right? But you try to ask questions. You try to have relationships with them in the recruiting process to learn about their, like, other sports. You hope they're like, yeah, I love to play this, not just all baseball. Because if they're playing other sports, you know that there's a competitive edge there that's going to come out when it
Yep.
gets tough.
Yep.
And the beauty about this game of baseball is that it's tough to win, right? It isn't a 90% winning percentage like it is in football and 80% in basketball. No, man, it's like 50-50 game, right? And like
Right.
what is going to make you 60-40 and make you a World Series champion is like that
Yeah.
grit, that will to win, because over a longevity of a season, in college is shorter, but it's still 56 games. It's still a lot of games for these kids, right? Like, can you outcompete? Do you have the things that would win? Because when you're playing good competition, they're just as good as you are,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
what things are going to separate you to put you over the edge? And that one is a huge one for me. It has nothing to do with ability, has nothing to do with stuff. It has to do with your mind and your heart, right? And like, what are you willing to put in to win this game every single time you go out? And when you do that, there's a reason why those guys are winners. And I've gotten to not know him, but hear a lot of stories about Max Scherzer, who played at Missouri. Like, this guy is if anybody watches Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
they see that tell him, a guy in the postseason, they should get your ass back to the dugout in Seattle, because I'm finishing this inning. Like, that's competitive. That's
Yeah.
competitive nature. Like, and you don't take the ball away from people like that, right? And I think when you have that competitive gene and you'll do anything to win, it's what you do. Like,
Yeah. It's
I
what
tell
you
our
do,
guys,
man.
we're
Yep.
baseball players.
Yep.
This is what you do. This is your craft. It's your job. Like it or not, like, college sports is a job, right? And what are you willing to put in to get out? It doesn't guarantee the success either. But when you're all done, you can walk away and say, I put every ounce of everything into this, and either worked out or it didn't work out. When it doesn't work out, I promise you your life will be great, and you will be successful in a lot of other different things, because you have that winning mentality, right?
Yep.
And that compete factor. Because competing isn't just on a sports field. It's in
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
It's in everything that every human being does that is successful. And if you're a good athlete, you should desire to be successful, right? And so as we try to teach kids to be successful, because we know it's going to lead them to be successful in life or their families.
Yep. Man, it's so good. I love what you're saying there too. And I think when we look at just the overall landscape too of the environments that kids are developing in, and I'm not saying facilities aren't great. I'm not saying club teams aren't great. I'm not saying any of that. A lot of my really close friends own those and run those.
Yep.
But we put players in positions a lot where they're not competing for anything more than what they are, what their individual goals are. A cage is a good example. Like, there's not a lot of competition in a cage, even if you're doing live ABs, right? Like, can you try to crank that up a little bit? Yeah, but it's tough because you're not playing for the other guys, and there's nothing that
Yep.
gets you going like wanting to win for your teammates, right? So I want to just kind of talk about that. So in this environment, this will be the last question. So if anyone has any have some questions coming in here in the chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in there, and Drew and I'll get to those. But as we kind of like finish up on this question here, Drew, when you look at that, right? I mean, I'm not the first person to bring this up or something. I'm not saying that this is something new I created, but when we look at the youth and high school level now, we are creating environments for players to not really be playing for anything other than the individual goals. When they get to your school, bud, how do you try to change that? What are you guys trying to do to push? Clearly some guys are not that way when they get there, but some guys are going to be. Take me through that, man. You've been at some great places. Like, is it changeable?
It it is, and it is, and some are tougher than others. I feel like I worked for one of the best, and Brian O'Connor. Like, I knew when I got there, my first practice I joined in the middle of fall practice in 2019, right? So they were like 2 weeks in. I got there on the first couple practice. I'm just gonna just like observe, right? I'm not doing anything. Keep running the pitchers where they're doing it. I'm good. And I knew in 1 hour why Virginia is in Omaha all the time, why they're in regionals all the time, why they win. And it had to do with talent on the field, because you could say their talent was a little down, but it was the way they went about as a unit, how they worked, and they were taught that way, right?
Yeah.
And they were the right person for what they were trying to recruit. And if it wasn't, there was either quick things. You either fell in line or see you later, man. Because you're not gonna give up. The program is you're not bigger than the program, right? Like, it never is. And there's tons of programs are like that. Shoot, almost all of them are like that across the SEC. You just don't get to see it as much, right? You just, because your talent is so great, you hear about that. But if you get deep dive and some of these coaches and listen to them talk in post game, I love listening to other head coaches all the time post game, because I just want to learn for myself, who aspires to be a head coach, but also like you want to hear like what their program's about, right? And you look at what you talked about in the travel baseball world. Trust me, travel baseball is huge for us, because that's how we recruit all our players, right? Because the high school seasons play when we're playing, it's tough to get out. But in the same time, these kids are not playing the right way. They don't practice really. They just play games. And so they practice, they play the wrong things. They don't know what they're doing, right? But then again, they don't care, because all they care about, what did I do? You have the kid who's like, I just watched your team get beat 8-1. But the first thing is a Twitter post about how you went 2 for 3, did this, but then the last sentence is, but we lost. No, you're about yourself here. Like, and we see that, right? Because ultimately, us coaches, our job is to develop young men into better baseball players, right? Because that's what they want, but also better people as well. But if you want to win in an organization, like, what kind of players you need and the mindset that they got to have as a unit. And it's so cliche, but you play for the name on the front, not the one on the back, right? Like, but that's how it is. And it is, we have it now. Like, you see it. If you go to games and observe, like, oh, you can just tell the way that kid plays, and whatever situation arises, like, it's runner on third with 1 out. All he has to do is hit a hard ball up the middle for an out, and he take his RBI like Miguel Cabrera made a living doing. Like, nah, he's getting big, and it's like sliders are being like, you really, like, you're about yourself, right? You're trying to hit a 2-run homer here and be that guy, right? And pop your chain coming on all those things. It's like, that don't play. And for me as a pitching coach, you do that, I will single you out, and I will beat you, because I know what you're trying to do as well, right? Like, at the big league level, and that's what's tough, right? Like, the minor leagues, it's about, like, it's very business-like. It's about, like, how can I make myself better? But then you get to big league level, you want them all to be together as a group, because that's what wins. That's what I thought was great about the Blue Jays this year. Ernie Clement is, I would call him a friend. He would play at Virginia before I got there, but he'd come back all the time. Got to know him. And you hear about him talking about the clubhouse and how it changed from last year to this year. And that was the reason they won, was how close they were as a group, like, and how they played for each other. I'm like, yeah, that's what good teams do. And that's what your teams did when we won the national championship at Virginia, right? It's hard to just out-talent somebody in baseball, because the game is too hard, right? Yeah, I would love to see, but I don't know how we fix it, Justin. I really don't, because travel baseball is here to stay, right? They're not going to cut tournaments out, because there's companies that make way too much money off it, and people are going to continue to keep paying for it, because they think we're there, which we are most of the time. We're there, and they're going to pay for it, right? I would love to see that thing get cut in half and get better at your craft, and then start to play, like, as you get older, then you start to play more games, because you've worked on your craft as a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's awesome insight, man. I also think, adding into that, there's so many pieces to this, but when we look at just the complexity of it all, it just kind of like, it's not simple. And, like, I'm not saying it's simple where, you cut out a couple of club tournaments, then everyone's going to go back to being a team guy or something. But I do think, if for parents and players listening, or high school coaches, other college coaches, whatever it is. I think if we just kind of reiterate to players the importance of being a great teammate, being a competitor, being a winner, right? Like why would you play multiple sports? Well, to go compete in other sports. Like go compete if you love to play them, right? If you don't, that's fine. That's a different conversation, but just learning those things. And I think I'm seeing it. So we have kids that are pretty close in age. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, so just a tick above you. But they're both girls, and like I've already seen the sort of competitive environment in all sports, man. Like all things with like, pushing on, gymnastics to try to get to a higher level, or, dance going like 9 months out of the year. And you can, it's just crazy. So I think as a parent, you just have to be able to say, look, I'm not going to do that. Like, we're not doing that thing. And I think if you have more people that are standing up to that sort of thing of like, we're just not doing that, there's no demand for it, and you can kind of back off, and the companies aren't going to be able to sell the stuff because it's not there. And it doesn't mean, again, I'm not saying that facilities aren't great, club teams can be great. Like, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I don't think a player needs to be in a cage or training year round at 10 years old, and playing 60 games in the summer.
Yep.
You and I, Drew, I don't know about you, man, but like I did a lot of my own stuff, like where I was going to the park with my buddies and we were doing stuff. You know what we did? We would go play long toss and not even know what long toss was.
No, I had no idea.
Call it long toss. we were bombing balls back and forth, right? At 9, 10 years old. It wasn't like we didn't have any sort of structure of like a long toss program, but we did it. And I think we need to kind of get back to some of that stuff where there's some of that just unstructured. And I don't know about you, man, but the Sandlot, our Sandlot, I can't say it's too much of a Sandlot. It was a pretty nice little field, but that's one of the places I learned how to be so competitive.
Yeah.
You want to win against your buddies in that environment, right? Like, so, I think there's a lot to this. Let's get to some of the questions. I love the insight, man. All right. So let's start with Steve here. If anyone else has any questions, throw them in here and we'll try to get to them as we wrap up. So what are the pitching profiles for a high school left-handed pitcher versus right-handed pitcher that Mizzou tends to recruit? That's a good question, Steve.
It's great, and you can insert Missouri with any school, right? And
it's right.
And people always ask that question. Go, me personally, I don't have like, oh, the right-hander has to be 88 or above, or 88 or lefty 85, because for me, it's like it's what you see in the kid, right? Like, obviously, naturally, left-handers can always get away with throwing slower, right? Because they're left-handed, and that's just naturally how it usually is. It's also what makes them so valuable when they are throwing at a higher velocity, because they're left-handed. It's kind of unicornish, but for me, it's like I want to see guys both left and right-handed pitch. Can you throw 2 pitches for strikes? Simple as that. Then you're at a great place. We can always develop a third, teach a third, because usually at that level you don't need more than 2 or 3. But if you're showing 3, even better. You're more advanced. And for me, it's not like I want to see a certain velo. If I'm recruiting a kid who's about to be a junior, which is now right before we can start to talk to them. If I'm recruiting a right-handed pitcher, if I like a kid's arming, I love how his arm, I love his body. His body's like thin or skinny, like it just has a lot of room to projectability. Yeah, if he's 86, 87, I would love that because it's still fast enough arm. There's athleticism in there, right? And I know that's going to make a huge jump. I don't care if it's 91 because I know I'm betting on that. I know what I'm talking about and that it's going to get to this point because I've watched a kid pitch. I know he can do all the things that are already in the toolbox already. Now it's about just life happening for him, time, right? Don't get fixated on a number from a kid. Like, I have to be this because I think that's going to end up really taking away from the things you should focus on, was just pitching. Like I tell our guys, we're not going to talk about velocity. Everything we do in our program is to make you throw as hard as humanly possible. How we lift, how we throw, our arm care, our recovery. That's the whole point. If you are bigger, faster, stronger, and healthier, you're going to throw harder. Like all of it. We just don't want to sit there and talk about it like that's the only thing that matters, because it doesn't. It's not all that matters, because across this level of baseball, you have guys throwing I had a guy last year in Virginia throwing 101 who never missed a barrel. Like never. Like I love the kid, but he didn't get anybody out. Like some guys, and he's got 90, guys throwing 90 who just nobody can touch him. We've all seen it, right? Like there's guys know how to pitch, and there's some deception there, whatever it may be. Where we all have our own little kind of picadillos that make us who we are as a pitcher. Don't ever lose sight of that. Just make that stuff better, right? So long answer, right? Compete, throw most pitches for strikes, stuff like that. I want to see guys perfect who are athletic. I look at and how they move. This is going to sound like bad, but like I usually can count them to somebody I coached, played with in minor league baseball. Like they just look that way. They may be undersized because life hasn't happened yet for them or whatever. But like the way they move and how that I see that, and then I have to go, okay, is this kid going to get to be the height, the size, and need? And then that's a decision I have to make on my own, right? That's sometimes a little bit of a guess, but a lot of times they're already tall enough already, especially at that age now because we can't recruit 14-year-olds anymore. Thankfully.
I like it, man. I like it. Thankfully. Great answer. Steve with another good one. Any so particular secondary pitch that you like to see a high school pitcher develop?
Oh man,
a little bit, but yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I'm a changeup lover, right? Like, and this is why. Because if you ask any major league hitter, what's the toughest pitch to hit? They will say a good changeup because everybody can hit a fastball. That's why they're in major leagues, right? That's why in college baseball, nobody gets to college baseball because they can hit a breaking ball really well. It's because they can hit fastballs that are commensurate to our level of success. And everybody throws fastball, breaking ball, fastball, slider, but rarely have guys who have really good changeups. Well, changeup's the only pitch that looks like another pitch, which is the fastball, right? Every slider, every curveball, it usually pops a little bit, has a different spin. A changeup will have the same spin as a heater. And so as a hitter, you see it and you think fastball and it gets it. If you look at So my starters, like you better have a changeup. It's like non-negotiable because if you want to be at the level of success you want to be, when you face lineups 2 or 3 times through, a changeup will be a great equalizer for you, right? If not, I'm not saying you can't, right, with fastball, breaking ball, but those 2 pitches better be pretty elite, right?
Yeah.
Or you limit yourself to be more of a backhand power guy, which is again make a lot of money doing that as well. So
yeah, but thing, I mean, I think the point though is that I think people forget this, but like, one of the best pitchers I've ever seen throw live is Johan Santana, who doesn't really get talked about enough. What was his best pitch? It was a changeup.
Got to talk to him last week.
Did you really?
When we were at the Twins place. He's a special assistant to Pete Mackey up there as a pitching coach. So
no way,
and I'm
man.
like the nastiest changeup. Him and Francisco Liriano, who he taught, who came up behind him, the same kind of guy.
Yep. And you look at, I mean, you look at some of that stuff though, but the changeup was almost unhittable. Like literally, guys would say, like, I can't hit the changeup, right? And
name any best pitcher in the Major League Baseball right now, and you name it. DeGrom, killer change. Tariq Skubal has the filthiest changeup in baseball because everybody throws a certain velocity, but that changeup makes that 95 look like 100 every time, and you can go back and forth. It's just you can't discern it as a hitter what is what. You can't, and if you sit on one, you're done. So you can't sit on either one, right? So like. It's just a great matchup. If you look Scherzer, I mean, you name it, those guys had the best changeups. Pedro Martinez, like there's a reason why the best starters you can think of had great split fingers or changeups that played in that same realm.
Yeah, good call with the splitty too. Kind of same idea there, but
that's come a big pitch recently, right? Because it's not, you don't have to have a feel for it. You don't have to like have this athleticism. Just cup it deep and throw the crap out of it, right? And you might find something pretty good for you.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. Good question on those, Steve. So Jason, appreciate you being here. Drew, thanks for those comments, Jason. So what are some of your absolutes that you need to see in a high school pitcher in order for you to want to bring them to Mizzou? Yeah.
Well, we kind of touched on, like, obviously I want to see a guy that I feel like is projectable, right? Like I'm not, we'll call it paying. I'm not paying for a kid when he's at 16 years old. I'm buying for what a kid's going to be at 19, 20, right? What I see in the future, right? And that's in the eye of the beholder, which is me, right? What do I believe that kid will end up being? And understand it only takes one person to believe that you have what it takes to get your career started, right? So I that's off tangent, but like that's why I tell kids, like, keep your options. Why? Because like, one person's trash is another person's treasure, right? So really keep that in mind. But like being athletic, right? Like all those things you try to watch, like being a good teammate. Like you ask coaches, what coach is going to tell you that he's a bad teammate? Nobody, right? Because they want the best for their players and stuff. So you try to watch it all you can. I love watching kids, what they're doing off the mound, when they come in the dugout, what kind of teammate they are. When things do go wrong, if they do go wrong, how do they respond? Because that's more of a truer test of what you're going to get, because you're going to have a lot more failure at the college level than you do at the high school and travel ball level, right? Obviously, you need a good student still, right? Like school is still a big part of this, although it seems like it's not anymore. And when you look out there, but the rules are still the same. You still have to be a good enough student to be able to play, and we don't want ineligible kids, right? Because we only have so many people on our roster, right? So we want kids from that standpoint that can play. But Justin, I want kids who have dreams, man. Be real with you. Like I asked them, the first question I asked is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And if it ain't a Major League Baseball player, I'm out. Right? Because this is why. And maybe I'll say, well, this is why, because that dream is only has a life to it, right? It only has so long, and then the game is done, and then you have the rest of your life to chase the next dream of your life, right? But if you have a dream, I know that you're going to want to do anything and everything to chase that dream. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but at least I know where your head's at and what you're willing to do to get it, right? But through all that, what do you end up doing? You end up becoming probably a fantastic father, husband, all those things. And then when baseball's over, whatever avenue of life you choose, I guarantee that person's successful, right?
Yeah, I love that, man.
Because of what their desire was to be great at something, right? And and any player you haven't seen that's not, there's a reason why they're average players. And it's a lot of times it's just their desire isn't that great, which doesn't make them bad players. But like for me, like I want guys who want that, because that's what I wanted, right? And so I can kind of latch on to that a little bit. And I think it's really easy to hold guys accountable, because you told me you wanted to be this. And so are you willing to do the things necessary to be great, right? And I wish we'd have more people in general in life wanting to be great at things. Not just baseball.
Man.
Not just baseball, right? Just the world in general. We'd be a lot of things would feel a lot better.
It would, man. It would. Yeah. I mean, it's a focus. It's a focus on something that's worth time, right? Of like, and if I think that, I think that you can get distracted by some things that are really not important, and it drags you down, and that's the difference. But awesome stuff there, Drew. So let's last couple of questions here, unless there's some more that come in. But so talking about your own son, man, playing college ball. Assuming he wasn't a top 100 player, I would actually say in this, Jason, just to kind of
top 500.
Yeah, I mean, top 500. So I mean, I would also say sometimes that the 520th guy ranked or whatever might be somebody's favorite, in the top 250 or whatever, right? So you have to kind of like, when you talk about rankings, just be careful on that, because it's not everybody's rankings. It's one person or one company's rankings, which totally fine. They can do that. But when you talk about in general, I've had big league, I've worked with big leaguers that were ranked extremely low in their own state, let alone nationally. So, one of them was one of your guys, Joey Gerber. Right?
Yep. Joey Gerber walked on to Illinois, 86 to 88 right-hander with a 66-mile-an-hour curveball.
Yep.
Right? 3 years later, he's throwing 95 to 98 with an 84-mile-an-hour slider, and goes 8th round as a big leaguer in COVID year. Right? Like, and
he got back up last year. Like
development.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a good example. So I don't mean to get sidetracked on you, but Joey Gerber coming out was somebody that I saw in a pen, Jason, just so you understand this. I saw in a pen off to the side. I grabbed his high school coach after the game and I said, "Who's that kid over there?" Because I knew the high school coach. He's like, "He's not good enough for you." I was like, "I definitely think he's good enough for me." Like, and I like it. What's his name? So it's a long story, but that's how that all started. I didn't even see him in a game. He's throwing a pen on the side because he couldn't get in a high school game. So you have to be really careful. Sometimes guys like really blossom late. But going to that question, why don't you finish that off, Drew, for what your answer is?
Well, I appreciate you finding Joey, because that gave me a closer for 2 solid years as a sophomore and a junior, right?
That's right.
And another big leaguer underneath my cap. So I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you developing him so I can say he's a big leaguer.
The rankings don't mean anything. Like I've had players at Virginia, I won't name names, that are ranked the 8th best player in the country, and they get there and you watch them play. They have no shot of ever having any success in college baseball. They just can't play the game at the speed it's played at. They can't fit their position. They can't hit breaking balls. Can't do it, right? So that never means anything. Again, that's the selfish part. If you're playing for a ranking, you're not about the right things, right? For me, my kid's gonna be, if he wants to play baseball, which he probably will because he's gonna be around it his whole life as long as I continue to have a job in this game, will be that you will go to the right fit, right? And where you're gonna be able to play right away. And I say that a little bit in jest because, like, the transfer portal allows people to run away from competition, which isn't good, right? But I also understand that the great thing about that is if I'm a freshman and I go and this kid, just say as a sophomore above me that beats me out, and that guy's a starting shortstop. Well, that guy's a starting shortstop. Like, you need to go play. I understand that's what's good for, but I also would think that sometimes stay, and that guy might make you a lot better, right? Because you're always chasing somebody, then somebody's chasing you. So always going to the right fit. Because again, like I will again die in the hill, man. You can't get better unless you're pitching. I get asked all the time from players, "Hey, how do I become more confident as a pitcher?" Well, you want the honest answer? You pitch in games that matter and have success. Because until you do that, it's just false bravado, right? You can do all the preparation and hopefully get
So good, man.
self-confidence
Yeah.
through preparation, as you should. And then when the outing happens, you still need to have good results in the outing to then truly end up believing in what you can do. And then you always have that to hold on to, right? So that's why you have all this stuff in college baseball and in football and in all the sports. But college baseball is they go to this place because it looks cool and they're gone. They're gone immediately because they can't play at that place. So, like, go to where you feel like it's the best fit and you're going to play. Because when you have that, then you're not jumping around. It's going to be better for your development being somewhere more steadfast, right? Like, if you look at players that are jumping the portal, maybe it's a money thing, but again, if that's what it is, you have a better chance of going to LSU and playing at LSU by going to school X as mid-major first and then playing your way up. If you go to LSU first, you'll never play. And then you'll go back down to that school and play. See, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're better off going that way. And I don't like it because, I mean, we can, again, talk about this for hours. I don't like and no coaches really do like what's going on in college sports, but they're the rules that we play with right now. Because it teaches kids all the wrong things about being accountable and being tough and what you need to be an adult in life, right?
Yeah.
All these things. And I remember my dad telling me, I remember one time, it's like, I'm gonna do this. Like, and I did it and came home 3 weeks later. Yeah, life is hard, isn't it? Yeah, life is not easy, you know? But we want kids to go to the right place. And it's so easy to get caught up in all of, like, what it looks like, the perception of what it looks like. People don't care. Like, they don't care where you're going. Like, you think they do, they really don't. If they do, they care for 24 hours and they forget about it, right? So make the best decision and put people around you. They're going to help you make that right decision. And that's a big thing, right? Don't get people around you that are trying to fluff you up. And because you may make their travel ball organization look better that you're going to go to school X because they're in the SEC. But a year later, you're gone somewhere else playing, and then your life is, in my opinion, your baseball career gets derailed a little bit, right? So, but that's hard to do because on the same side of it, as coaches, you want athletes that go, "Oh, I don't care, I'm better than him, I'll beat him out," right? So that's again, it's tough. You want to be smart, but then again, you need to go to places you're going to be challenged and you're going to compete because that's only going to raise your game up, right? So it's tough, and that's why, again, the slower you take the process, the more information you take, you hopefully make a better decision, right? But at least if the decision's wrong, the good thing about the portal, it allows you hopefully to rectify that decision and end up making the right decision the second time. So that's one of the few things it's good for.
Yeah, good stuff there. I agree. I also think when you look at that, Jason, when that time comes, or when you look at the different options, it's always a risk reward proposition, just like any decision. This is one of the biggest things that I think is missed on, though. It's the ability to step, like, you want every kid to be competitive enough and you want them to believe they can go play anywhere. I don't care if it's a Division III guy, man. I played Division III baseball. Drew, if you ask me to this day, like, could I have been a Division I shortstop? Absolutely, 100%. Right?
Yes.
Like, no question, right? I don't know. Like, if I went back, I don't actually know. If the portal was there, I had success, I could have probably transferred and gave it a shot. But the point is that every player should have that belief that they can do certain things. That's what you want in it. But as a parent, you do want to be able to step back and be like, what is the risk, though? I mean,
Yeah.
what are they bringing? Did they bring in 20 guys from the portal? And how many of those were at that position? Okay, it's a corner outfield. Let's just use that as an example. I mean, you and I both know that's a dime a dozen in the portal,
Yeah.
right? That is a lot different position. So positionally, it changes. If you're a pitcher, that changes because you can obviously get on the mound a little bit more sometimes, maybe get some opportunity compared to some
Yeah.
other positions. So there's a lot that goes into it. But man, you hit on the thing. The biggest thing that I think every player needs to really sit back and say is like, what is this decision about for me? And I talk about this with players all the time. No, in your heart, what is this about? Why do you want to be there? And if you start coming up with the aesthetic sort of things of like, man, I love the food court that they had there. And I love, let's be honest, Drew, you and I
Yeah.
both know this, man, that goes away. Once you get there, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, yes, are the resources and stuff nice and all? Yes, I'm not saying that, but that's not what's going to make you a great player, right? That desire to get better. I mean, heck, man, I've had players that are like driving to different facilities while, stadiums are under construction, like at USC, like
Yep.
driving in LA far to go
Yeah.
hit because their desire is just to get better, right?
Yep.
Like, and that's really what it comes down to. Like, is that where you want to be and why are you there and all that? So I don't want to get on a soapbox there, but I want to finish that off. So let's go to the last question here and get you out of here, buddy. I appreciate you taking the time. So Jason's last question, great question, man. The change up. You want to show us how to do it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any ball. I do have this little like my
Yeah,
one
there we
girl
go.
has
It's close
has
enough.
this ball pit, right? There's so many different things now with changeup, but this is a big developing thing for me for changeups. So within our throwing program, um, almost every day we throw changeups. Now there's days that we have recovery days, or maybe it's a day after an outing that we're not doing any spin stuff. It's light catch, right? But anytime we're on a throwing program, the best way to develop changeups is throw it from like 75 to 90 feet, right? Never throwing breaking balls from that far. That's always 60 feet and in. But 75 to 90 feet, move your feet and throw it at your partner. What happens over that? It allows you to teach a couple of things. One, feel, right? Because I have a guy who's 90 feet from me. I got to throw it to the general target, which hopefully it should be the belt, right? We want to like work down, not up behind the ball. So you can see movement, you can get feel, and you get feedback. The feedback is over 90 feet, so you can be able to see what my action and my stuff is doing, how is it spinning, and then you create hand speed and you're aggressive, like you are your fastball, and you come inside and you come closer when you come 60 feet, it translates. Like if I just say like what have I been really good at as a coach, I would say teaching guys how to compete and manage baseball games and the changeup. Like I've given I have so many guys like phenomenal changeups because that was my bread and butter. But if I recruit the right guys who have a decent amount of velocity and going to continue to grow with age and strength, but can teach them this and that, like I can't necessarily teach them how to spin it. We can to a degree, but like again, feel for spin is some guys just have and some guys don't.
Yeah.
But the changeup can be just an unbelievable. That third pitch that really separates guys at every level of college baseball on. And for me, I think it's just those certain ways to teach it and go about doing it. I think is huge. And if anything, throw it literally. If I'm playing catch, so me and Justin are playing catch to 150 feet. When we come back in, throw 5 to 7. That's it, from 75 to 90 feet. And if you want to throw a few more at 60 feet, just to feel like from a stationary position, because obviously move your feet from that distance. I'm telling you, man, over even in 2 weeks, you'll start seeing like better feel. And then you play with it. Okay, I changed the ball. What is and we have cameras and stuff that can show us how the ball is coming off, right? But like you can see the spin. Your catch partner should be your biggest truth serum. He can tell you oh, I can see that it's loose. All right, then play around with it and you'll figure it out. But you're gonna figure it out by throwing and being aggressive, throwing it to some distance, and you're gonna see the movement over time be what you want, right? Always throw it with intent. The intent is the most intent. If you slow down, I don't care if that thing moves 24 inches. I'm going to hammer it because you're giving it away by slowing down. So maintain arm speed. And if it's a little firmer, that's okay. I promise you, and I wish I could explain this, but I cannot. I promise you, I've had guys 92, they start throwing changeup and it's 88. They're like, oh, it's too firm. But I go, yes, but the movement's great, the command's great, the feel is great. Just keep throwing it, and somehow it just keeps going down. And then before you know it, you have an 84 mile change and 90 mile fastball, and you're a dude back and forth. And then you incorporate your curveball, your slider, and you're a 3-pitch pony, right? And you're in a good place. So,
man, awesome stuff, Drew. I appreciate you sticking on a little bit longer, man, and
of course.
taking the time, man. As I would have thought, I might have to have you. I might need to get you on the payroll or something as a regular here.
No, man.
It's gold, man.
Anytime I can help, this is great, man. Like I still feel like I'm young, but like I'm not anymore. As way people are looking at me and giving me senior discounts at Culver's and stuff. But which that happened, I couldn't believe it. But like I just want the game to be better, man. Like for how good people are getting at the action of what we do in our game, the game has actually gotten worse. Like ERAs have gone up, walks of 9 have gone up because we're like, maybe I'm doing something for the game.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Of course.
I appreciate you, my friend, and you know, good luck as you continue on. We'll be in touch, obviously, as usual. But appreciate you taking the time, buddy, to come on the podcast and talk a little bit more.
Sounds good, Justin. I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. See you, buddy.
See ya.